Well, like I was saying, the international break is just around the corner. And Phil Foden and Jude Bellingham are back in Thomas Tuchel's squad for England. Here's what Tukul had to say specifically about Jude Bellingham.
I will not reveal my confidential and private conversation with players here in public, but I think it's not a surprise for him to compete for us on the number 10 position. I think he knows from me, and I think he sees himself as a number 10. Like I said, I feel that his key strength from the number 10 is to find number 9 positions, and that he has this hunger and determination to score. This is what we see now for Real Madrid, and hopefully we see it next week for us.
All right, so just trying to make some sense of that. Nedum, he's saying that Bellingham is a 10 and Foden's like a 9, 9.5 or 10, but must play centrally then. So is he hinting that they probably can't play together?
Yeah, I guess so. And then obviously when you add in one Harry Kane in there as well, you know, that also changes the dynamic. I think Harry Kane, we've seen in recent times, especially for Bayern, is doing really well when people, you know, will stay up the field as he starts to drop back in himself. So I think it's almost a case of figuring out which players will actually complement each other as opposed to go against Kane, who's going to, you know, essentially be starting every game for England for the foreseeable future. But yeah, I would agree that I think for Bellingham and for Foden to be playing together as like those 10s and those attacking midfielders, I think we saw a little bit of that last summer at the Euros, and I don't know, it didn't really work as well as say we'd hoped that it would do. I think Foden wasn't at his best for the majority of that tournament, and Bellingham obviously had his moments, but it was an England side that was still lacking creativity somehow. So yeah, I think he's hinting to that. I think he knows their strengths, but I think he'll also know the nature of the games where it's one or the other, or potentially, you know, like a Phil Foden, who will probably end up being the guy who's coming in off one side of the field, whether it's on the right or the left. So yeah, I don't think many people would see them playing together, and in some ways that's because you've got one Declan Rice, at the moment you've got Elliot Anderson, you know, and those two in midfield seem to be the key for England going forward. So yeah, I think he's kind of said what you've alluded to there.
Are these friendlies, or I thought?
Yeah, England are qualified.
Yeah, but it's qualifiers. It's World Cup. I'm looking at it. They're playing Thursday, November the 13th. Serbia World Cup qualifier against Albania. So it's not friendlies. Might as well be friendlies, because I don't care where he plays Phil Foden and Jude Bellingham.
Do you think that's Jude Bellingham's best position as a number 10?
Yes, but they beat. I mean, he can smile all he wants, Thomas Tuchel, and all this guff about England and going to major tournaments. Let's judge it when they get to the World Cup, because they're playing Serbia, as I mentioned, and then they're playing Albania. They beat Serbia in Serbia 5-0. I mean, Southgate did the same. Hodgson did the same. Most of the previous managers all did the same. They battered the also-rans most of the time in the group stages, and then, for whatever reason, Southgate got the closest, but they came unstuck at major tournaments. So I don't care against Serbia and what he does with Phil Foden and Jude Bellingham. It's what he's going to do when he plays Italy, Spain, Brazil, France, all these teams, even Croatia, when Southgate got outfoxed by the Croatian manager in the semi-final. They were getting outdone in the middle of the park, and we all sat watching it going, they're getting outdone in the middle of the park, and he did nothing. Yeah. And so that's going to be the crux of the matter for England, and where Foden plays, if he plays, where Bellingham plays, all this sort of stuff that other England managers are having to deal with. It's not how he deals with it really here. And you might say, well, he learned a little bit there, but yet that's not the same as, you know, playing France, you know, up against it, playing Brazil or Argentina in a semi-final or a quarter-final. It's a complete difference. So it's nothing more now for England than, they are, I suppose, friendlies, but they're World Cup qualifiers, but they're nothing more than just a run-out. And quite frankly, they're just the most boring games on the planet. What?
Yeah, it can be boring, but you have to prepare the World Cup. You have to prepare the World Cup, and in order to prepare the World Cup, you have to prepare the players, and you have to make decisions, and you don't have to compromise. I think Bellingham, Foden, and Kane cannot play all together. It's impossible. You know, it reminds me in '96, '98 when Aimé Jacquet had to make choices between Cantona and Zidane. He offered Zidane the position of striker. I think Cantona denied it, but it was clear for Aimé Jacquet that he had to make a choice between two fantastic players, and he had decided to put Zidane. He didn't compromise. I think at a certain point, the coach will have to decide whether it's going to be Bellingham and Foden, because against those big teams, Spain, France, Argentina, maybe Portugal, they can't play like that. It's impossible. It's too open.
Well, was Cantona in the squad?
No, he wasn't, because he didn't want to play. He didn't want to play in '98. He refused to play as a striker. So he decided to not take him as a substitute, because he knew that it would be maybe an issue. But can you imagine Cantona not being picked in '98 when he was the king of the king in England? So it's sometimes a hard decision, but you have to make sure that your team works, and it works the way you want it to work. And I think with Bellingham, Foden, and Kane, it's hard to make it work, especially defensively.
So we are, what are we? How many months? 7 months?
6 months.
I would imagine he's got a fair idea what he wants to do. I don't think walloping Serbia or Albania or any of the other teams, might have been Latvia, I can't remember. I don't really think that, you know, Frank's saying you're preparing the World Cup. I think he knows pretty much what he wants to do. What he's got to hope is that he has a problem, that Bellingham is fit and playing well for Real Madrid, that Foden's form, his trajectory continues to go in the right way, because he lost his way for quite some time for whatever reasons, I don't know, but he was a heck of a player, incredible player week in, week out, and then it sort of went away. I think that's the bigger issue for Thomas Tuchel. I think making sure, like any manager, you can figure out, and you probably already have, what you're going to do with these players. What's more of a concern is when they go into a major tournament, are all my key players, are all my big players fit? Are they all in good form? And are they all up for it? And then you figure it out from there. That's the crux of it. I don't think you have to worry about at this moment in time, can he play, They all know where they can play. They have to make sure they're in tip-top shape going into America, or North America here. Because if you're not, if you've got 4 or 5 guys that are not tip-top and they're off form, England have got no chance. Not that I think they have a great chance at the moment. They have a chance, I suppose, but if they have 4 or 5 of those guys off colour, they've got absolutely no chance to compete properly in this tournament. Well, you're looking at me as if I'm a bit angry today.
I know. Like, I thought you'd be more relaxed, you know, fresh off holiday, a bit more tan.
Not really, no.
No, no.